Welcome to another edition of Lab Rats. My name's Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
And this is the show where we demystify technology, and one technology we have not demystified lately is Android. Now, what is Android?
It's a robot. We just did a robot show last week.
No, it's not a robot. You know what it is.
Yeah, it's the new operating system out of Google Labs.
Right, the mobile operating system built by Google.
Yeah, for smartphones.
For smartphones. That is competing very heavily right now with Apple smartphones, the iPhone and the iPhone series and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been meaning to do this for a while, and I think it's very important that we do it now, just because I think Android phone shipments are going to overtake the iPhone this year. Everybody's kind of looking at them, asking a lot of questions about them. We just thought we'd have a side-by-side comparison.
Sure.
Right, and we have a special guest. Mr. Andrew Moore-Crispin, who works with us very closely here at butterscotch.com, is the editorial lead here at the site. He's our Android expert. He's going to come in and show us his Nexus S phone, which is a brand new phone from Google, with Gingerbread 2.3, which is kind of the hot new version of the Android operating system that's just been released.
Yeah, so perfect timing for doing this then.
That's exactly it. So there you go. So let's get started. Google Android versus the iPhone today on
Lab Rats.
Well, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about one of our key sponsors, Hover.com. Hover, of course, is the domain registrar, or what's the place where you can register your domain names. And I really, really like these guys. If you like to register your own .coms or .tvs or .cas, it's a really great site. I keep all of my domains over there.
Me too.
You do too.
I
do
do
too, right? A great service. They have this really great policy too, which I really like, where they will answer your telephone call on the first couple of rings. There's no voicemail, there's no bad music and that sort of thing. So if you really want really great service, you want to register domains, get personalized email address, that sort of thing, I highly recommend you zip on over there to Hover.com. We're going to give you this little coupon here to give you started 10% off your first purchase. So there you go. All right, so let's get on with this. I'm very excited about this today. Now you are our de facto Android guru.
De facto.
This is Andrew Moore-Crispin, for those of you who haven't seen his hands perhaps on Gadget
Right,
TV.
yes. A couple of ads from CES. Yep.
That's right. And also you do a 60-second app
Yep.
for us as well. And you switched over to Android probably sometime last year?
Yeah, well, I actually washed my iPhone 3G. More accurately, my wife washed my iPhone 3G. I needed a kind of a stand-in phone. I switched over to the Nexus 1, which we actually had in the office, and a couple of little bugs, a couple of little hurdles that I ran into. But after probably a couple weeks, I was hooked.
So kind of a fortunate accident.
Yes,
in many ways.
Was your wife working for Google, perchance?
Possibly. She certainly wasn't working for Apple.
All right, good. So let's start by I want to kind of break down sort of the side-by-side comparison using kind of different categories. I think we should probably start with the form factor.
Sure.
Right. So I mean, I've got an iPhone 4 here. And now you have the older phone, and then this is the Nexus, what's it called, Nexus?
Yeah, so I have the Nexus 1, which is this one here. You can see
Right.
the form factor, pretty similar.
And
I also have the Nexus S, which I will put in the middle here.
Oh, got it. Okay.
You can see the form factor is pretty close.
Nice.
Looks a slight bit taller.
We turn
Tiny bit taller, yeah.
sideways there.
We can have them kiss. I don't think anyone will like that, but that's okay. So this is actually, this one, the Nexus S, is the newer phone made by Samsung. The first Google phone, the Nexus 1 here, made by HTC.
Right. Okay. So now there was a lot of issues apparently with the Nexus 1 in terms of its, it was a few bugs and that sort of thing. But
yeah.
Were you impressed with that to start?
Overall, yeah. I mean, you pick up the Nexus 1 and you're on Android 2.1 right away. You pick up this one, you're on Android 2.3, which is known as Gingerbread. A lot of improvements between 2.2, which is now on the Nexus 1, and 2.3, which is on Gingerbread, still waiting for it to come out on the Nexus 1.
I got it. Okay. So if you were going to buy an Android phone right now, in terms of pure size and form factor, you would say you'd recommend the Nexus S.
Oh, I love the Nexus S. It's the 4-inch AMOLED screen, Super AMOLED. It's like crazy bright. Looks great in a variety of lighting conditions. It's got the oleophobic coating a la iPhone 4.
Which means
The power button's actually on the side.
Okay.
So the oleophobic means that it resists your finger grease, basically.
Right, and it's easy to wipe off. And this is actually my favorite thing. This silly little screen closing animation
Just like
that looks
your
like
old TV.
an old school TV.
Yeah.
I could do this all day. In fact, I have done it all day. But
We don't have all day.
no,
So
fair enough.
similar size, weight,
Yep.
similar screen experience, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, it very much is like the finger-friendly OS. Much like the iPhone 4. I mean, I loved the iPhone. Like I said, it was a bit of a difficult switch for me to make initially, but now 100% sold.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, Sean, you mentioned the AMOLED screen. That's OLED, isn't it?
It is OLED. Well, I guess, what does it look like in action? What are the differences between that and the previous screen that you got?
Well, very much snappier. That's a part of it is a faster processor, more RAM. The screen is gorgeous, looks great in a variety of lighting conditions. One of the things I really noticed with the Nexus 1, and indeed with many smartphones, you get a lot of glare when you're in bright sunlight. I really noticed it's not as much of a problem with the AMOLED. So beautiful thing about AMOLED, unlike the Nexus 1 or the iPhone 4 or basically any other smartphone on the market that isn't running an AMOLED screen, it's only using power when it's actually displaying a pixel. So if it's black, right, the overall operating system is much darker now. If it's dark, then it's not using as much energy. It's only when it displays white, right? So that's one of the big things in Gingerbread is that the whole color scheme is a lot darker, very much for battery savings on the kind of their flagship phone.
Very cool. Are there any differences in terms of the size of the screen or touch sensitivity? Is it the interface using it any easier than it was before?
Yeah, definitely easier than on the Nexus 1. It's very comparable with the iPhone 4. I mean, the screen is, I think it's 800 by 480, I think, and that's compared with, you'd know better with the actual size and spec of the iPhone 4 screen.
Yeah, 960 by something,
right.
By 640.
So we're not dealing with HD here, but I mean, it really pops, especially when you're comparing it with previous generation to current.
Yeah, it's not quite at the same level as the Retina display, but it looks like it's pretty close.
It's really beautiful. I mean, I think it's 235 points, pixels per inch versus the 331 or something like that for the iPhone 4. So I mean, you don't get that kind of really bright pop, right? But it is a beautiful screen. I like it a lot.
What about the keyboard? Is it the same similar on-screen keyboard as the iPhone 4?
You know what? That was actually one of the biggest adjustments I had to make with the Nexus 1. A lot of improvements in the keyboard this time out of the gate.
Let's see it.
Yeah. So basically, you have your standard soft keyboard here.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of the Android operating system, something that you can't do on the iPhone 4, is that you're actually able to choose a different keyboard. So if, for example, I wasn't a big fan of this keyboard, I can just go in and download a new one from the Android Marketplace. Right. Sorry, the Android Market. Shove me over.
Yeah.
It's like a real phone battle here. So the keyboard much improved, a tiny bit smaller actually than on the Nexus 1 and previous iterations of Android, but much more targeted. So when I tap a key, chances are much better now that I'm actually hitting the right key.
So you think it's more comparable to the iPhone
I would say
experience?
It is, yeah, very much so.
And was that one of the deficiencies before?
It very much was. I mean, on the Nexus 1, I used swipe and a couple of different keyboards. I kept trying out new keyboards. With the Nexus S that I've been using for a couple of weeks now, I haven't even thought about switching the keyboard. So,
what about memory in there?
This one has 16 gig. Now previously one of the real benefits of Android is that you have expandable storage, right? So you don't have, like you buy a phone with a couple gigs of memory in it or a couple gigs of storage, you can at any time go down to the store and buy a micro SD card up to 32 gigs, slide it in, bang, you have now 34 gigs of storage. With the Nexus S, this is actually the biggest disappointment for me. Now you're stuck with the 16 gig, which is the standard SKU. There's only one. You get the phone, you get it at 16 gigs, and that's all there is to it, no expandable storage.
Now that's a difference from the Nexus 1.
Big difference, yeah. So I mean, the Nexus 1 has, I think I have an 8 gig card in here now. I had a 32 in there before. You can kind of switch them, mix and match kind of thing. You have all your movies on one, all your music on another, that kind of idea. You can do that kind of stuff. Now, like I said, the 16 gigs just built in. So.
Now, relative to the iPhone comes in 16 and 32 now, right? And my guess is the iPhone 5 will probably offer a 64 gig version. So still a little behind in terms of the memory technology. And then if the iPhone 5 adds an add-on SD port, then obviously
that would be a beautiful thing.
That'd be a beautiful thing. Very good.
You know, one of the things you need a lot of memory for, obviously, is apps. You want to put a bunch of apps on there. So, what are the killer apps that come inside the new Android?
One of the things that actually really got me, when I was using the iPhone 4, I did download a couple of the offline GPSs. I think I had the TomTom one. I had a Navigon, a couple of others that I tried out. You know, you're paying like 40 to 100 bucks kind of idea for the benefit of offline navigation. There's actually an app called Navigator built right into the Google operating system. It requires that you're actually on the data network at all times, but you get like real turn-by-turn directions with the 3D zoom in, you know, in 200 meters, turn right at so-and-so street or whatever. Right. One really cool thing, too, is when you actually approach your destination. This actually kind of blew me away the first time it happened. You pull up, you look at your phone, you see a picture of the place that you just pulled up.
All right, so it gives the Google Street Maps, street level, street view kind of experience.
And I actually saw my car drive past, too. That didn't happen at all.
Not yet, but one day.
Maybe.
One day, you never know.
One very frightening day. I think one other app that I would like to mention, if I may, an app called Car Home. All right, so I'll pull it up here. All these, or both of these apps are actually bundled standard on the phone. So here we have Car Home. So this is kind of your dashboard for when you're in your car. You can see here we have one-touch access to navigation, to your phone, to voice search. You can do all that kind of stuff. You can add your own apps here. And it very much is a one-touch or no-touch solution. So I can actually tap voice search and say, navigate me to 96 Mowat Avenue. And it does a pretty good job of recognizing your voice and will actually take you where you need to go. Very cool.
So in terms of voice search, what other sort of things can you do? Because the iPhone is very minimal. You can make a phone call, you can control your iTunes library, but that's about it.
Yeah, so you can do things like that. You can say, play all music by Beck or whatever. You can say, navigate me to a street or a landmark, like navigate me to the Guggenheim is the one that they use in their actual demo of the technology. What else can you do? You can say, call Andy Walker on his mobile. You can say, text Andy Walker, hey, how are you, Andy? You got a bunch of messages from me while I was really testing it out. Like, hey, Andy, how you doing?
What's he talking
Smiley
about?
face, exactly. Yeah. No punctuation. That's kind of a weird thing. But
that's weird, yeah.
So a lot more flexible then.
A lot more flexible, yeah. And like I said, with the Car Home, you just tap voice search. You know, like I said, one touch or no touch.
Right. In terms of apps, so there's probably 2.25 million apps for the iPhone right now. How many apps for?
I mean, it's getting there. It's comparable, probably about I think about 150, yeah, 150, something like that.
It's getting there, right?
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in fact, by the way, we list all of those apps on our website at butterscotch.com. So if you ever want to do a bit of an app search, zip on over there. I did want to ask you about connectivity, though.
Yes.
So of course, 3G connectivity here.
Yep.
Right. So same network. Same so GSM type technology, 3G connectivity. Wi-Fi?
Yeah, of course. It's got BGNN, which is kind of exciting.
802.11ab.
Yeah, 802.11ab, or sorry, B, G, and N. So G, basically everyone has that. Chances are good. Yeah. N is kind of the newer standard, as you guys both well know, much faster. So I have an N network at home, and I really noticed the difference there.
Very good. Yeah. And it has a hotspot capability too, which I'm kind of jealous about.
That one's very cool, yeah. So and the beauty of this is that it's unlocked, right? There's no carrier locking, and there's no like you don't get the T-Mobile version or the AT&T version. You basically put a SIM card in, it's going to work. So yeah, with the hotspot thing, I mean, if you have an unlimited data connection, which I'm fortunate to have, I can put my phone into what's called wireless hotspot mode. You'll see broadcasting, you know, Andrew's Nexus S. You guys can connect on your iPhones. Actually, you guys can't connect on your iPhones. I won't allow that.
Yeah,
but there's no filtering like that. You can't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. But you can do like WPA PSK, right? Like the most secure kind of consumer level encryption.
Yeah.
And you can connect, I think, like up to 8 devices. I've gotten a couple on there before.
So let me get this straight. So you can use this as a hotspot. So I can use my laptop, connect to my phone, which is using the 3G network.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, we've seen wireless tethering before. You know, over Bluetooth generally, it creates a personal area network. Yeah. This is a little bit different in that we're actually basically just creating a Wi-Fi hotspot. Anyone that we want to give the password to can just get right on.
Very cool. Good stuff.
Don't hog my bandwidth though. Don't hog my bandwidth though.
No, I will try not to do that for you. Sean, I know you're a big camera enthusiast, and it's one of the questions we often ask is what's the photography capability on this thing?
This one, it's a little bit underpowered in that department, to be honest. It's got a 5-megapixel camera on the back, does a great job of taking stills. No HD video recording, which is a bit of a bummer, but the videos that it does record are really good. So like I say, 5-megapixel in the back with the LED flash here. We also have a VGA camera on the front. Okay.
So it's comparable to the iPhone.
Yeah, that's pretty much spot on with the two.
But just it has no HD video recording.
Right.
That's the key thing. Yep. Okay, good. Right. And then what about updates? So I know obviously that Gingerbread 2.3 just come out.
Yep.
And they seem to update the operating system every 6 months to a year.
Yeah, there'll be an incremental upgrade. You'll see like a 2.2.2, for example, just came out for the Nexus 1.
Right.
2.3 we're still waiting on, which is Gingerbread. Right. The real beauty of buying the actual flagship Google phone, like the Android phone, is that it's completely unadulterated, right? One of the beauties of Android is that you can basically do whatever you want with it. It's open source. One of the detriments of Android is that people do, right? So for example, Motorola, you know, they do some interesting stuff with making it easy to connect and easy to put your media on and off. But what they end up doing is they basically create a skin on top of Android that has some proprietary technology that only really works in a certain way. So basically, what I'm getting at is that if you buy, for example, a Sony Ericsson Android phone or a Motorola phone, whatever version you're on, so it's 2.1, even 1.6, right? There were still some phones coming out with 1.6, right, which is lame. You're basically waiting for the device manufacturer. the carrier too, that's the thing.
Yes.
So you're waiting for the device manufacturer to say, oh, you know what, here's 2.3, as opposed to like, hey guys, just buy a new phone, right?
Yeah.
Or you're waiting for the carrier to say, oh, we just updated our music store so that, you know, but it's not ready for Android 2.3. So you're dealing with that kind of stuff.
Right.
Basically, if you buy a 2.1, kind of assume that you're going to be on 2.1 for a while, if you ever get to upgrade. But you can root, which is a whole other subject.
Root.
Root.
Which means?
It's like jailbreaking your iPhone, right?
Right.
And we have a tutorial on that on butterscotch.com.
Okay, we'll put that up here.
Yeah.
One question I had really quickly is I think that there's a really neat feature called widgets on this that you don't have an iPhone, and I think we sorely need it.
Right.
What are widgets?
Okay, I love widgets. Basically, with the iPhone, you have, I think you can do up to 32 or 64 home screens, right?
Yeah.
Here you have 5, and you're locked to 5. All your other applications appear in your actual applications list. But what we can do is, it's going to be a little difficult if I do it this way, but I can touch and hold. And now I'm presented with some options here. I'm going to choose widgets. And now these are all little apps that will actually run in the foreground. So, for example, I can have my to-do list sitting, or my calendar sitting right on my home screen. See if I can select this here.
Right, so you don't have to go digging for it. It's pretty much always there.
Right, so now I see my calendar. If any events I have today pop up here. I have a couple of others that I use regularly. Here we have my Facebook widget, the power widget, so I can just toggle Bluetooth or Wi-Fi on or off or anything like that. This is actually called Jort, one I really like. So I have my to-do list plus my calendar. Like I say, you know, a lot of different app manufacturers. There's a bunch of widgets built in when you first get the phone. Add a few, but a lot of app makers will actually create, you know, an app and then say it also has a widget. So, and the widgets, like I say, I really like those.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for your expertise.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's take a break, and when we come back, final thoughts about Android versus iPhone 4, as well as picture time. Welcome back to Lab Rats. So, what's your take on the on Gingerbread on Nexus S? Pretty cool, huh?
It does look pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure that I'm ready to move over yet. I mean, I've invested a lot of time in setting up my iPhone the way I like it.
Yeah.
But it is getting a lot more tempting than it was when it first came out, for sure.
I think one of the nice things about that is, you know, it has a much more open system. So instead of having to deal with the iTunes Store all the time, you know, and dealing with the questionable approval process that they have over there, you know, you can pretty much put on your phone whatever you like. On the Android phone.
Yeah, although the thing that worries me, the one thing that Andrew was talking about updates, you know, the fact that you might have to wait for your carrier to get around to fixing something that's wrong with it internally in the firmware, that kind of worries me a little bit. I know that Apple is on that sort of stuff fairly regularly, and I don't want to have to wait for 6 months for them to fix something potentially because they don't have a team to deal with it at the hardware manufacturer end or the carrier end potentially. Okay. So that's one little worry.
You can kind of see why that genre of phone is actually competing with the iPhone. It's very promising.
It is promising, and well, they also have opened it up to anybody that wants to, you know, get on board as well. So Apple is the iPhone is just Apple, yeah. and this is Motorola, Sony Ericsson, pretty much anybody that wants to get on board. So it might win it just from sheer force of numbers here, I think.
Cool. All right, there you go. That's the take on Android versus iPhone. We did mention rooting before. Which is a way to basically jailbreak your Android phone. And not an easy process, but we have a tutorial for you. So let's take a quick look at that, and then when we come back, your pictures.
Welcome on deck. I'm Matt Harris.
Hi, I'm Jay Goldman.
Welcome to the A-List. Hi, welcome to Miss Download.
Now you see here, something you won't see unless you have a rooted phone, is a super user request from ROM Manager, which I'll allow. See here? Can make it very easy to reboot into recovery mode. No holding down X's or pushing power buttons. You can install a ROM that you've downloaded from your SD card. You can tap here to download a ROM. You see here are just a few of the ROMs that are available. Ultimate Droid, Lithium, Mod. Again, as I mentioned in the other episode, make sure that you check. Make sure that a ROM is specifically for your device.
Well, if you want to see the entire tutorial, of course, we want to show you 30 seconds there. Zip on over to butterscotch.com and look up Android rooting, and you can see the entire thing. In fact, go check out the URL that we posted there so you can see it in its entirety.
If you're from Australia, don't get excited. It's not what you think.
Don't be rude. All right, picture time. How many pictures do we have today, Mr. Carruthers?
We have 3.
3 pictures.
So very quickly. So one from our pal Quinn, who's in Calgary. He
Oh,
sent
Quinn, yes.
Pictures before, and this is a picture of him with a bunch of IKEA rats, which you might recognize if you've ever looked down on our set right here. We've got a few of them right here. So there you go. You can get them at IKEA in case you wanted to get some of your own, and Quinn did just that. So thank you, Quinn, for sending that along.
Hey, they're white rats.
They are white rats. They have them in 3 different colors now, not just the old gray ones that, that we got. So
how exciting. Cool.
there we go. So also we have one from Paul, who's in Silicon Valley and watches our shows. This is our his setup, showing butterscotch and lab rats on at least 2 different devices, and probably on the other devices that are down there that
Paul
are turned
is a
off.
gadget king.
He is a gadget king.
Wow.
And,
Must be rich.
And so's Paul's cat. Paul's cat Pokey
cat also
takes
has
over the
his own
MacBook.
laptop.
Yeah. So you go. I used to have a cat named Pokey. I was very little, so I don't really remember Pokey that much. But it's good to see another cat named Pokey
With his own laptop.
who has his own laptop.
Oh my God. Talk about the mobile lifestyle.
That cat has a newer laptop than I do. Anyways,
Probably works harder too.
I guess.
All right, good. Well, thank you very much. If you'd like to send your pictures or videos or whatever you like to us here at Lab Rats, you can email to.
Please, Mr. General Manager, can you get me a newer MacBook so it's not older than that cat's at labrats.tv?
Yeah, lots to spell there, so long email. We have a shorter one, though.
No, please, at labrats.tv.
Or a better one.
Feedback at labrats.tv.
That's better. Now you might get a new laptop.
Yay.
Maybe. All right. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed our take on Android versus iPhone. We, of course, love bringing it to you, and it'd be foolish for us to be here talking about Android if you weren't out there going, Android, I thought it was a robot. Anyway, my name's Andy Walker.
I'm John Carruthers.
We'll see you next time.
Are you ready? Try this at home.
Yes, Jesus knows me. Yes, Jesus knows me.
Our copyright? Not officially, I don't think, no.
Yes, Jesus knows me. He knows you too, Sean.